Hello everyone, welcome to Junk Journals by Jen, where journaling is about the journey. Today I want to share the top 10 things I wish I knew when starting out in junk journaling. These are just some of the things that I wish someone had told me before I started on my journey. Would have made it easier for me and even saved me some time and maybe some money when starting out. And the first thing is to use wax thread. And when I started, I bought a huge bag of embroidery thread. I bought leather string. I bought all kinds of strings. I bought ribbons to tie it with. I bought the biggest bag of wax thread I could buy. I have misplaced my black one somewhere. And I'm hoping I can save you a little bit of time and trouble. I have probably bound over 50 journals with wax thread and haven't had a single knot slip, and I don't even glue them or anything. They've all stayed tight. So I recommend wax thread, and they sell them in small packs of just like a few neutrals. And if you don't want to commit to this, and it's not that it's even that expensive, but once you start buying everything in bulk, you can get overwhelmed by materials and space to put them in. It's lovely having all these colors, but I have so many of them that I have not even opened yet. Some of the neutrals I haven't even opened yet. But these are the ones I use the most, are the neutral colors. So I would say, you know, to start out, just get a small pack of neutrals and choose from those if you don't want to get a big pack of colored ones. But yeah, anyway, using wax thread is definitely a tip number 10 for me, to narrow it down of what material to use. So let's clean these up real quick. Look at them go. All right, number 9, and this one is a little bit harder to explain, but is to not compare my work to other people. And this is just one of my journals this is actually the first journal that I ever bound with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. But one of the easiest ways this happens is by using social media for inspiration, and instead of ending up comparing yourself to others. So instead of ending up just getting ideas and being inspired, you'll end up comparing yourself and where you're at, knowledge-wise and experience-wise, to somebody who's been doing it for years. And then maybe it discourages you from wanting to start. So I would say try not to compare your work to others. The important thing is that it makes you happy. Your style is your own. This is just so funny to me to look at this one now. It's so different from what I make currently, but I still love this journal. I love that I used all kinds of papers in it. I used magazine pages. I used lots of magazine pages when I started out because I didn't have a lot of other things. And I used a lot of jelly printing because you can make any color page out of a jelly print. And just things that mean things to me. So number 9 is to not compare your work to others. Number 8 is I wish someone had told me how to use the Crocodile for the large 3/16 eyelet. And I'm just going to show you how to do that because I was using this all wrong when I first got it. And all I wanted to do was set an eyelet. And I had all these different size eyelets, first of all. And I realized now that just to buy the 3/16 eyelet for myself, you buy whatever size you want, but I just buy one size, and then I always know what size hole I need and what size my puncher always needs to stay in the same place. If you have a Crocodile and you're not sure how to use it, it's really simple. The up here at the very top, it tells you if you have it all the way over here to the left, you're set so that it will squeeze down and do your eyelet setting. If you move it over one notch to the right, it'll say right there 1/8. If you can read mine still. 1/8. And then if you move it over one more, it'll say 3/16. And we're going to move it over to 3/16. The first thing we need to do is punch a hole. We'll punch a hole in this. And you can see where your hole is going to punch because it'll come down right there. So we're just going to punch a hole right there. And then we'll pick out a color, and I barely use orange, so let's pick out an orange one. And there's different ones that these should be set on. If I'm just using these, the set of eyelets that I have here that are 3/16, I'm going to set this on, the top one has two choices. It has a large choice and it has a small choice, a skinny one. And I'm going to choose the large one. And that one is marked A, I believe. I can never actually read them, but it's the large one. And then you go like that and push it up. And then the bottom one is going to be the one that's marked 2. And it has a 2 written on it, on the little square. I don't know if you can see where the writing is. Mine are so scratched up. Here's one you can see right there. It says 4. It says 2 right there. We're going to put it on the 2. I like the 2 because when you use the 2, it curls the edges under, and I'll show you what I mean. Now you just put your crocodile, you just put your eyelet in, and then you want to set it on the dimple on the bottom. And whoops, sorry, I pushed this over all the way back to the left, so we're getting the dimples moving. Okay, put it on the dimple. Squeeze until it squeezes. Okay. And then that's what you get on the back. Now, I recommend when you order them, these are not the ones that are splayed on the back. I'll tell you the difference between them. Let me if I can grab one here. These are just perfectly straight. You can get one with notches in the back, and those work wonderfully, but this set just fine. Okay, you can see there's no wiggle room there. All right, and that's how you set an eyelet. The larger size eyelets, 3/16. Okay, that's number 8. I wish somebody had shown me how to use the crocodile for the, well, in general. So now you know how to use the crocodile. Number 7, when making a personal journal, I don't put pockets or tucks to use ahead of time. And this is not one that I made, but this is a journal somebody made for me. And it's made in the style that I would make one for myself. It's got pages, but it doesn't have a lot of tuck spots and stuff on it. It's got some pockets, big pockets, which I would use, but not a lot of tuck spots. But because when I work in my journal, I like to decorate a whole page and then put a pocket that goes with the page, if that makes sense. Like I added a pocket to this page and a little pocket to this page, but I don't have a pocket here. And I don't have a pocket on this page. I didn't do a pocket on this page. So you can see that my style does not lean towards using pockets and tuck spots. So I don't build my journals with them. And that's okay. I thought for the longest time that when you built a journal, you had to build it with every third page having decorations, because that's what I saw somebody else doing. And I would do that too. And then when it came time to work in my personal journal, I wasn't happy with it. And then I thought, why am I doing it this way just because somebody else is? I should be doing it the way that makes me happy. And so that's what I do now. Okay. Number 6 is to use what you have. There isn't a perfect amount of stuff to collect before starting your journal, so just get started. Trust me, you will collect it faster than you will use it. And you will see a transformation in my journals from the ones that I started out using that are mostly magazine pages to the ones I use now where I have purchased things to use in them. But I have more stuff than I can use in a lifetime for my journals. And the journal pages that I love the best are the ones that I used magazines pages or book pages or things that I had on hand, 4 years ago when I started out. Not necessarily all the trinkets and things that I've bought since then. So you don't need to wait to start, is what I'm trying to say. You can wait forever and never start if you wait for the perfect supplies. So any amount of supplies you have, if you have a few papers and an envelope, you've got just what you need to start a junk journal. So hope you're finding value here in what you see today. If so, please hit the like button. I appreciate your support so much. Number 5 is that a 3-hole pamphlet stitch is not scary. In the beginning, I would just tie, I'll show you here. I would just tie my, well, actually, this isn't the one I did it in. It was this one here. I would just tie my signatures in. And a signature, in case you are brand new and just getting started, is a section or a collection of papers that are bound together into a book. So this is one signature, and this is 2 signatures. And I had to rebind these into a book because I had just tied them in. I was so scared to sew a book together with a pamphlet stitch that I just wouldn't do it. I would take a signature, take some ribbon, and tie it into the book and call that a journal. And that's fine, that is a journal. But they didn't last, and the ribbon cut my, this one isn't too bad. The ribbon cut my pages on my books. And so when I rebound them, there was some damage to some of my papers. But don't be afraid. 3-hole pamphlet stitch is super easy, and I'm going to include a video for you attached to this video that tells you how to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch very easily. I love it. I can do it in my sleep now. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So remember that. Okay. Number 4 is that I wish I had known it was fun to sew paper. I have some examples here to show you. I sewed this one around. Thought she was really cute. Little notepad, little tearaway notepad. It just adds something, right? However, not everybody has a sewing machine, and I didn't have a sewing machine starting out. I didn't even know I could sew. And but what I like to do, I like the look of it, so I thought, you know what, I will do the little fake stitching, and I like that too. And I have a lot of stuff with this little faux stitching on it, and you just go around just like you would if you were sewing. If you do have a sewing machine though, or you're contemplating getting like a cheap one from Goodwill or something like that, don't be afraid to try it. It's not hard. I looked up everything I've learned from YouTube on how to make a bobbin and thread a needle and everything. So there you go, faux sewn stitch. All right. Number 3 is to pick my pages first and then my cover. And this is my example of that. I wanted to use a bunch of these pages out of this book, and they're very tall, big pages, and I wanted to use some chip pages and different size pages. And you've seen this book in a flip through before, some signatures of it. But my point is, I wanted to use these big tall pages, and I had this big tall book. Now this originally was a book I had just bound it in, but you can make a cover any size. And if you pick your pages out first, you can adapt a cover to your pages. If you pick your cover out first, then you've got to cut your pages down to that cover. So I find it easier to pick the pages first and then pick a cover, if that makes sense. Now, if you're just making your cut, I shouldn't say just, but if you're making your cover out of a cereal box or something where you're starting from scratch with any size, it doesn't really matter. You can pick your pages first. Of course, you want to do that first and then make the cover around there. It's just easier, pick your pages first. So I wish somebody had told me that at first. That would have helped me a little bit with this book. Number 2 is that some decorating is easier to do before sewing in your signatures. And I did this backwards so many times, and I'll tell you a couple of ways to work around it if you've made this mistake. It's not that big a deal. The first one is sewing in the, if you're going to use lace trim or something, way easier to sew it in first. But if you forget to sew it in and you want lace trim there, just glue it. Use some Fabri-Tac. I've glued it many times. This one I remembered to sew, but I've glued lace in many, many times, no problem. Another thing that's easier to do ahead of time would be sewing in these little peekaboo things. That one says wonderful. But this one I did not remember. But you can hand sew it, and that's what I did. I just hand sewed this. And I like the hand sewn look. You don't need a sewing machine necessarily. Well, you don't need a sewing machine at all to make a journal. It's definitely a nice to have, not a need to have. And then there's something else. Oh, these pages. If you want to emboss your complete page, this is so much easier to do. Let me make sure you can see that. I've embossed the vellum. That's easier to do before you put it in. I don't know how you would do that after you put it in the journal, so this has been sewn. I did a lot of sewing in this book. Okay. All right. Number 2 is that some decorating is easier before binding the journal, like embossing, sewing lace, trims, punching the edges, those kind of things, which I showed you. And number 1, and I find it the most important lesson, not everyone understands, so don't take it personally. I've made so many journals for gifts, and there are 2 that stand out in my mind. The first one I made for an old friend that I had no idea how much she would enjoy the journal, but I was pretty sure she would at least like the theme. It was a fairy bird theme, and I was so nervous giving it to her, but you know, she was over the moon. She still sends me messages every now and then and thanks me for it still. I was so surprised that she liked it as much as she did, but she really loved it. And that makes everything worth it. Like that one journal makes all the other journals that I'm not sure about the owners loving them or not. Her sending me all the messages she sent about how much she loves that journal still makes up for everything. Not to mention, I loved making it. Now, the other journal was so special to me. I was in love with it. You know what I mean? When you finish one and you're just in love with it, you just love how it came out and you're like, oh, I had so many good ideas for that journal. Well, that was this situation. And I was so excited to give it to this person. And I'll never forget the look on her face. It was utter confusion and an awkward hug. Hopefully this has never happened to you, but if so, just remember, in this case, the recipient isn't who you made the journal for. You made it for yourself, for the sheer joy of making it. And that's how I'm choosing to look at it anyway. You can join me in looking at yourself that way if you need to, if it has ever happened to you. But there you have it, 10 things I wish I'd known when I started out. Visit me at my Etsy shop, which is linked below. And till next time, bye everyone.